This call is now being recorded.
Okay.
Oh, your spy software is not very good. I heard it say that.
Oh, really? Oh, shoot. Okay. I guess to start out, I'd like to ask you to just kind of give as detailed an account of what happened when that experience when you were younger, and I believe you and your mom saw a triangle UFO.
Okay. First, I want to start off by saying that I have to assume that I'm recalling this as best as possible, from my own memory, because I have, been recalling and telling the story for so many years. But also, with the problems with, memory is that I start to remember the story, and so I don't have I didn't have a camera there, or as a child, I certainly wasn't ready for it. I didn't have anything to record the incident. I have nothing but my thoughts and a little painting my mother did, and my mother and I did, and there's a few other things, but other than that, there's nothing much. So I just have this story, and I know that's not the greatest, but it did happen to me, so that's all I can say. And it goes as best I can remember like this. Sometime, I believe 1996 or 7. I say or 7 because my brother came home with Ultima Online, a video game, and we had never had an online video game before. This was like a new phenomena, and I was playing with people from like New Zealand and stuff, and it was really cool. And I remember that happening the same year he came home, and so I believe it was 97, but he says he came home in 1996. Because he lived in Florida for years. But I was driving home my mother in Taunton, Massachusetts. We were heading through the industrial park, or from Bay Road. She had picked me up from playing some sort of summer sport, and I believe it was football. And we're driving down through Bay Road, down into the industrial park into Taunton, Massachusetts. Then we take a left-hand turn onto Crane Ave that runs along the railroad tracks, and then onto the road I lived on. And as we're turning onto the road, that you could see the sun was going down on the right-hand side, and since it was the area across the street from my house had been completely wiped clear for construction, it used to be like tens upon tens of acres of forest and hundreds of acres rather of forest and field. It was now basically a few patches of trees and all dirt. And as we're driving, we could see the sun going down on the right, and we pull into the yard. We did the same thing we did every day at the same time. I mean, we're horse people. I grew up in 4-H and other things, and we took care of horses my entire life. We still take care of horses. And I get out of the car, we drop our stuff at the same place, somewhere between the car and the garage as we're going back to feed the horses, or at the corner of the garage rather. And as we turn back, we see the horses are like waking out. But I say that because it was happening. That was part of that event, but it wasn't something that's completely, was new to us. The horses freaked out all the time. We had neighbors that like to launch rockets, like bottle rockets off all the time in the woods and just do drunk, crazy stuff. And so we calmed them down, which I remember that was a big part of it because it was a pain to get Crystal in the barn. But we calm them down, we feed them, we turn around and go right back towards the house. And again, the sun's going down around 5-ish p.m. It's like an orangey sky, but it's still, daylight out. And because this is the summer, and there's a black aircraft in the air somewhere around the same height, roughly. I mean, I'm just saying that because I remember the way it looked. If it was the size of a regular large, airplane, it was roughly like 7,000 feet up. And we only knew that, and I knew that as a child because I would constantly ask questions like, where are these planes going? They're flying to Logan. They're flying to TF Green, that type of thing. And, or that's a military plane probably going to Otis Air Force Base, which was close. And so I saw this thing and it was up in the sky. But as a child, I wasn't instantly registered 7,000 feet. I just thought, it's a strange looking airplane. And then I took like another step and I made it to the corner of the garage. There's a door there that's always locked, but it also is like, it opens up to the driveway and you can see this swamp next to my house, and it's part of the Hockomock Swamp. And we called it a pond whenever the realtors talked about it, but of course it was a swamp that dried out in the summertime. It was just terrible. But we look over the swamp, and and this is something this is a key feature of the story to me that is just as important as a visual, because it didn't make any sense as the very next thing that happened, is that we could hear this wind, but it wasn't like we could hear the wind so much as we could hear the effects of the wind. You know, like if you hear wind out your window and it's accompanied with, say, a tree banging against the window or a tree banging together, those two sounds go together. But when one is happening without the other, it's strange. And I remember looking to my left around the corner, seeing the garage. I'm sorry, seeing the swamp, and seeing all of the trees around the swamp smashing together. Not like a little bit, but kind of a lot. Almost like I would say as a sailor that it was at least, visually speaking, at least it feels like 55 knots of wind at least. It just, when I'm thinking about the trees blowing around right now, I remember, I could associate it as being a sailor, being in a blow, and I've been on my boat through 65, 70 knot winds, and it's a nightmare for days on end, and it's like, that's kind of what it was like. It was kind of like a 55, 60 knot wind was making these trees all smash together everywhere. All the trees were, even the giant tree we were standing under. And there was there really wasn't a wind. I called it a hushed wind. That's what I said when I was younger, and I kind of say it today. Hushed wind. It was like I don't know how to explain it. It was just like a wind, but with no noise. And the world around us was clearly being affected by this wind. I don't know. I just couldn't hear it. But next thing I know, that wind is gone. And all in a moment. And I don't notice the wind gone first. The first thing I noticed is my mother screamed the words, "Holy shit." And it was loud and shocked me. I looked up at her with my head ducking down, thinking I don't know. I kind of always say that I thought I was going to be trampled by a horse, because that's what it felt like. My mother, a horse comes running through, my mother would have screamed like that or something. But it wasn't. She was looking breakneck up in the sky. She was looking directly up. And as I looked up, there was that triangle, much lower in the sky, much, much lower in the sky. 3 big white lights on it. She bolted, by the way. She screamed, "Holy shit," and ran for her life. And she only ran to the back of the house and in my memory, got to the back of the house and turned around and just started yelling, "Get the F over here." And it was, excuse my language, and it was a shocking sight. I mean, what else? I can't describe it any other way. I was in awe as a child, just looking up at this thing while she ran. And at this point, she has no memory of this happening, which I think is weird, because this was always the story we shared with each other throughout the year. I mean, memory fails. My brother doesn't even remember some of the things that happened to us as children, when he was the one that helped remind me that this happened for years. And it's not that he was making it up. I literally remember him saying to him, "Hey, remember that fort we had built?" And he didn't even recall the fort. And I'm I'm worried memory just goes, and I'm watching it, trying to remember these events. And my mother is telling me that she, that this is not what happened. And I'm like, yes, it was. We've been sharing the story for, years and years and years. And my memory of it is that the thing was dead smacking over us while she ran to the back of the house, went up 4 steps, turned around on these brick steps and said, "Hey, get the F over here." We had those steps at that time. I watched the thing slide sideways like it was kind of on a rail or something, like a roller coaster. It looked very mechanical moving. It didn't move like it was just whimsily going around or moving around with the fans or jets or whatever. It literally looked like it did a mechanical move where it was conk, 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 and kind of the angle of it pitched down on one. Oh, what am I trying to say? Sorry. It's starboard, it's port side rather, dropped what seemed, I don't know, 20 feet or so, 30 feet or so compared to the other side, and then it slid down very rigidly right over the swamp, and then flattened out again, parallel with the ground level, and kind of locked looking like, that's what it looked like to me. It's like it locked itself in its place, and then it turned like 3 degrees, about maybe 10 degrees to the left from which way it was facing, and it was facing across the street towards that construction zone. And it sat there for a moment and then slowly started drifting and following the river across the street, and we lost sight of it, like right as we assumed it was reaching the nursing home. And it was called Taunton Nursing Home years ago. I don't know what it is now. It looks like it might be for refugees now. I'm not sure. But my mother immediately ran inside with, after this is my memory of it, and she does remember this part. And we immediately went to the window on the side of the house and started looking. And I just kept yelling, "What the hell was that? What was that? What was that?" And she kept saying that must have been some sort of new stealth bomber, over and over and over again. And then years later, we would share this story, but she would never want to talk about it, it's funny because she's not like into the paranormal like I am, but she's into her own version of things, a light sampling of some of these things, and some of them far more metaphysical, but she's like, I don't want to bring it back. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And then she tells me like how she believes the whole reason why it even showed up is because her friend Linda called us, which I remember this incident, about something that happened in the Hockomock Swamp not too far away with 3 lights a couple weeks earlier, which I hadn't even connected to the case, and I'm not really sure my mother remembers exactly, but she believed my entire life, allegedly, that the reason why she never wanted to talk about it beyond it was just a stealth bomber was that she believed she was going to bring it back. And I think that's an interesting interpretation because that was so outside of my wheelhouse for years to ever even consider something so weird or metaphysical or anything like that at all. I was ultimately convinced for years that it was either like an alien craft or we had some sort of awesome technology that we would eventually see. And so far, I've never seen either that looks anything like that. And I just want to say it's my duty to put it out there that there are literally hundreds of lenticular, hundreds of delta, hundreds of tailless flying wing designs, and none of them seemingly look anything like what I've seen. But I will every day I spend it looking up these things because I don't believe that I witnessed. I don't know what I think, but ultimately it was clear that that out of all the years I've been studying UFOs, that I've never seen anything again that looks like it. Though I've heard of tons of stories of people who have seen black triangles with 3 lights, and sometimes people say it's got a red light, sometimes it's flying backwards. Oftentimes I find out that those people tend to be talking mostly about lights at night. And that's fine, but I want to make this clear, that I saw a solid aircraft, that this thing had the sun beaming off its bow. I saw no cockpit. I saw the thing directly from underneath it, from way up in the sky, some 7,000 some odd feet, and then I saw it up close, like a couple hundreds of feet. I don't know exactly, but it really wasn't that far over the trees. And where I was, the next day rather, coming home from school, I had to walk past where the far end of it was, where we could visually see it, and I ended up finding out that it was about 110, 115, maybe 20 yards from one tip to the other. Now that's a significant aircraft. The only thing I've ever seen that resembles or even could possibly be something that could float like that without hearing it, massive engines roaring, would be a dirigible, but it doesn't explain how it fell out of the sky like that. And there's a couple of key features I remember seeing about this thing that I've never heard anyone else describe, and I'm waiting one day for someone to describe things like it, but it ultimately doesn't really bring me any conclusions. But either way, that's kind of the triangle story, minus a few details that I'm trying to actually not give out so much anymore, hoping that maybe one day someone provides something that is exactly like what I was talking about without ever hearing my story. But the rear end of the aircraft looked extremely weird. I've never seen another aircraft look anything like it, though from an engineering perspective, it does kind of seem useful to some degree if this thing operated, with certain types of technology that they may have found a better way to, or just simply the aircraft might have a rear end that looked like that for a very specific reason that I wouldn't even learn about till much later, like heat signatures and all types of other things. And so I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of that's pretty much the triangle story that happened in Taunton, Massachusetts, in the Bridgewater Triangle back in '96 or '7. I think it was '97. I don't know, but it's a part of my life, and I wish I knew the exact date. But the reason why I don't is because I kind of like gave up on the topic in my military days. Not gave up on it as in I gave up on sharing my own stories more than actually just like still passively or semi-passively taking them in as much as possible, like the accounts. Anyways, so that's my lame story.
That's not a lame story.
I have a bunch of stuff that happened before that, and I try to keep it separate because one is a very one was an aircraft. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. The others were weird as F, but I don't know if they were the same thing, and I don't know if it was just my mind. I don't know.
Well, a couple. So off the record, would you be willing to tell me what it was that about the craft that you didn't want to talk about?
Well, I don't care. Sure. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
You can leave it on there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I mean, I don't even care if you keep it in there. I've shared it so many times. I just recognize, hey, maybe I should not. It's even in Grant Cameron's book, so it might. I mean, I don't know if he put that part in there. I forget, but it's like I've just shared it so much. But all it was when I was a child. The only part of the aircraft that I really had a very unique feature to the rest of the aircraft because everything seemed very uniform on it. It was gunmetal black, had 3 lights, slightly inward. They were not on the edge, and there was seemingly no cockpit. It was very sharp, like a cutout in the sky, almost like a stealth bomber, but with a solid triangle and much bigger, and obviously some sort of hover VTOL system. But either way, it was the stern. The rear end of the aircraft was bare metal color, like as a child, I wrote and said multiple times how it looked like giant toenail clippers, like the curve of a toenail clipper was clipped away, and it had these interesting lines separating each segment, almost like grooves. And I don't have a great memory of this, though my mother has said she remembers that part of it, and she never said it once growing up, but it's very specifically the rear end of the aircraft looked kind of, I just don't want to, it's so absurd, but it's not plasma, it's not I don't know if it's electricity, but it almost seemed as if the lines in the rear end of the aircraft, these large grooves in the bare metal looked as if they were meant to receive power or something. I don't want to say anything any more than that because I don't know. But it looked. If I was an aerospace engineer, that would be the one key feature of the aircraft that I have to focus on because it's the only part that looked especially unique to the very uniform part. Everything else of the aircraft, of course, the lights could have been maybe the propulsion system, but I don't think they were. I think the stern was this raw metal that had these very unique lines down the back that looked almost as if there could have been some sort of electricity in those grooves. I don't know how to. That's like literally the only way I can express it, and I don't know any better. But I do think that the stuff that I've learned over the last year or two, just kind of scrolling the internet, looking at interesting work out there, the thing that I saw could be achieved and could fly, and maybe humanity could do it. I don't think they've done it yet, but it's there are destructive technologies that seem like that would be directly related to. Those naval patents everyone says is a kind of a joke that the Navy even said themselves that they gave up on them because they felt like that there was nothing to them after like 3 or 4 years of attempts. I can't remember what they said exactly, but I don't necessarily buy that is the exact thing that was. I don't necessarily buy they were flying anything around like that, but I will say that some of the descriptions that guy made about noble gases being ignited and all these other things coming out these kind of like diodes out the back of it or the bottom of an aircraft, that can go up like 40,000 volts a piece and all this weird, like all of these things reminded me so much of what I saw, almost as if like during the daytime you really can't see it very well. But maybe, just maybe, someone has figured out mass reduction with a propulsion system that almost acts like a Hall thruster or something, but without seeing like a plasma plume or diamonds or anything like that. Like almost as if it's literally just sending electrodes past it in a rushed way. I said electrons past it in a rushed way. And I don't know. I I just think that it's something to do with what we're hearing nowadays, and maybe, just maybe, there is something there. I don't know. I'm just filling in the blank here. I'm an idiot.
Well, it sounds like you're specifically referring to one particular patent. Would you be able to share that with me, in DMs or something like that?
Oh yeah, it's just it's the patent they recently. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, was this on the drive or something?
Maybe. Yeah, I think they covered it. But it was also that guy Salvador. Oh no, not Salvador. What was his name? Oh my God. Pius. Salvador Pius. I think his name was I don't know how to say his last name, but he's the guy that went on a bunch of different a few different podcasts and claimed that he simply gave equations. The Navy never really built anything with him. He just gave equations, and they went off and did whatever. He has no idea why they patented anything, and the Naval Office eventually said that these were all nothing came of this, except of course we heard they put on a demonstration for the patent clerk. Which I don't think that makes much sense, but maybe the demonstration was more on the theoretics of the thing. The patent clerk is not someone carrying a fucking... I'm not even going to... Yeah. I don't think the patent clerk has got the clearance and going to be read in for life on some sort of weapon system. Anyways, but it just... I'll share it, but it seems to me that that there's just forms of... the more I look into it, the more I see that a lot of aircraft that they tried to, people tried to produce with multiple propellants and multiple propulsion systems on board for the same reason that we see, takeoff and landing for certain systems. It's just like there are reasons why you would use a different propulsion for a hover versus to bug out. You're not gonna like try to get away from a weapon system using a ion lifters, some sort of see back in the day, if someone was to say ionic wind has been modified and they figured out a way how to combine these thrusters and stack them on top of each other and make it so you can actually get things going a lot faster than we could say with just simply plugging this thing onto a car battery and letting the lifter show everyone the magic of ionic wind or whatever the hell it is. But nowadays you see YouTubers doing it. The YouTubers didn't beat O&R. They didn't beat Lockheed. They didn't beat anyone. There's no way these YouTubers beat these people while producing ion thrusters. And so what I saw as a child, I think, maybe maybe those lights were the thrusters. I have no idea. I will say right now that the aircraft that I saw didn't make a noise that I recall, but one of the things you'll note about ion wind is that something's going to have to be right on top of you to some degree to hear it, and maybe maybe someone figured out a way to reduce the sound. I mean, let's be real. If it's near you, it's going to sound like a goddamn lightning storm or a generator or a transformer busting. It's going to be like, wow, it's going to sound crazy. But signature reduction is the name of it's all we work on. I mean, it's all we do.
Yeah, I was reading a paper a month or two ago, and I'm going to have to find it again because it was specifically about, oh, dang. Yeah, no, it was some theory about dusty plasmas, and now I'm going to have to find it again because it was specifically talking about acoustics in plasma. So,
very cool stuff.
Yeah, because plasma acoustics are not the same as the acoustics of the non-ionized air substrate around them. So I'm wondering if that is related. But anyway, it just popped into my mind.
No, the fact of the matter is that I'm not some super
Yeah.
I don't know how to. First off, I got into like academics way later in life. I spent all of my time growing up in the woods. Like I literally spent all of my time riding horses, riding dirt bikes, or riding bikes, or walking through the woods, and I could care less about school, and I just barely got by through high school. I mean, I literally just barely got by because I could not care less. I was going to the Army, and all I needed to do was get enough grades to get out because I was about to go probably die in war. And I was a meathead, and I literally was just like, whatever. And then my time in the Army, I started recognizing that I had this thing going on where I seemingly was getting more interested in academics way later in life. And it's probably because I spent all my youth playing video games as well. But I recognized there was like this bungee effect, and I'm like, oh my God. Not only am I super curious about it, and it doesn't seem to go away, but every single day and I wake up and I recognize that there's like this lack of reporting to the world of what we've achieved as humans. And if there's anything I'll say we did, I'll be proud to say the achievements and, you know, whatever awful shit we did. I don't want to be part of that. They did that. But the we stuff has just blown my mind. It's been since 1930 this acknowledgement of this phenomena, and of recognizing how to just the quest for propulsion. I guess that's all you can say, really. And it's like, it goes on. I'm not talking about, obviously, the years of the wheel and domesticating horses before that, or eventually getting off the ground with balloons or gliders. I'm talking about at a point where, like, we started recognizing that there was, like, science that looked scary as shit. Not simply gliding on wind. There was things that were, like, downright spooky that only, like, 1 or 2 labs on the planet were ever working on. And all of those things, most of them at least, have seeded out in one way or another, and we're using them now. I don't think anything's changed, and that phenomena of manipulating the invisible world, including for our propulsion system, is sure to come. It's there. It's
right.
You know, and when I think of how many reports I've investigated, how many times I've experienced something that I thought was rather strange that I didn't hear it when I thought I would have. I just assume it's rather juvenile to think that we can't make something quiet and fly stable, you know, or that looks rather, or if aliens are here for the love of God, I mean, for the love of science, whatever, they clearly are not going to be coming with their first generation propulsion. And we are on we're on the same stuff that the Chinese, the Italians, us, like we're on the same stuff. It's been 1,000 years, for God's sake. All right, I'm sorry.
What can you tell me about this other experience of with an aircraft?
Well, I have a few things with aircraft. Which one do you think? Well, there's one that I had that I admit that I was like really close to this one, and it's still kind of. I mean, the best I can assume was that it was an invisible drone. I don't know why I don't know why that would be where I was or who would be flying it. Though there is tons of military activity in the air, including like A-10s and helicopters and all types of stuff. But I was in Michigan as an adult. You know, this is October of 2021. I'm sailing into to a place called Tawas, Michigan, Taws. And as I'm pulling in, I see this light. I mean, it's nighttime, and it's the sky up in northern Michigan is just insane. like out in the southwest or the northwest. It's just, you know, when you get in these pockets away from the cities, obviously, I'm sure you're aware that, you know, it can just be absolutely mind blowing. And I grew up in, you know, developed areas where there's like 7 stars in the sky, and we're like, wow, you know, so there's just insane. The whole area is lit up. I mean, the moon's bright. Everything is just gorgeous. And suddenly, this super bright light appears over my left shoulder as I'm coming into this channel. And it's only about, you know, like 6 markers, and it literally like 500 yards at most. Like, so it's a real small one, and it's a real small marina, but it's also like extremely sketchy because there's only like 4.5 feet of water, and I can just barely scrape in there. And so I'm kind of paying attention, but this huge light appears, and I'm like, holy cow! And it is a bright light in the sky. It's not way up in the sky, although at first, the first couple seconds, you're like, what the hell? It suddenly starts to snake, like it's flying like a snake. It kind of stretches a little bit, but not much. It looks like a headlight with a little bit of a snake tail on it. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, that's the only way to explain it. It swam down or slithered down out of the sky till it was like my mast height. It was only about 65 feet in the air. And I'm looking across at it, and it's kind of running parallel with me into this marina, and I watch it go, like, I am like blown away, because at one point it's almost in front of me now. So it's about mast height, and it's in front of me, and I know it's mast height now because I can see other boats between us, and it's lower than some of the other boats, like the huge mast boats that are in this marina. There's a couple double mast catches or double mast catches that were in there. They were like 80 feet, 85 feet masts, and I'm like I could see this thing crossing into the marina in front of me, and an old man looks at it too. I see this old man sitting there at his boat. The light is coming out of the cabin of his little sailboat, and he's facing. I can watch him like literally not move his body, but his eyes. I can see his eyes because I'm only feet away from the guy. The entrance to the marina is literally 25 feet wide. I can show you on a picture of in Taos at the marina, but it's only like 25, 30 feet wide. There's no boat, with a 30-foot beam that's going to go in there. Anyways, but this thing swims past us, and we're both watching it. The guy doesn't move at all. He literally just moves his eyes, and he's watching it go right past him. It gets down to about 25 feet in the air, and I know this because it goes right up to a boat. It flies right up to a boat, this white light. There's nothing. Now, oh, by the way, I can see it way better now, and it's like two white lights. Well, it's one white light, but they're almost side by side. I don't know. It's like they look like two lights, but literally it's one thing flying with. No, I just sound like an idiot. All right, let's just say it's one light, but it's like
two light sources, almost like a peanut or something like that.
Yeah.
Or is there a gap in the middle?
It's a peanut shape. But there's no like split in the beam. It's like one peanut-shaped beam kind of coming out of it. I don't know, but you can clearly see that there's
binoculars.
Kind of. Yeah, there we go. It's like a binocular kind of, but then I watched that light turn off, and it disappeared for only about a second. Like literally, I went, "What the hell?" And there was no light, and it was just the bow of a boat on stands on land. It was sitting in sand, just right there at the edge of the corner of the marina when you pull in, where they leave all the boats in for dry dock or off season or whatever. And it's sitting there, and the bow is like 90 degrees to me. I can see the bow numbers. I can see the left side of the bow and the side of the boat. And this light comes right back on. So it's only like 1 second. If it goes off and goes back on, it goes from a white light to a red light in a line, like a solid flat line. Red on one side and then green on the other side. And my first reaction was, is it a fucking drone? Like someone's flying a drone at night here? But how did I not see it? Because it flew right up next to me, because it had a red and green light on, and I thought maybe they're flying in places where aircraft would be. Maybe it's a military drone. I don't know. But I watched this thing move in a very interesting way. It was a very glide, almost like CGI out of a movie, the way it flew up to this thing. It went from red, green, on both sides. It would flash in a line, starting from the middle where the light was, that binocular-shaped almost light, to a flat red line on the right, a flat green line on the left, over and over and over again. Flash. And then it did it, like, faster. Like, at the very end, it did it really quick. Red, green, red, and then it went right back to that white light. The green and red went away, and it went right back to that same light. It just drifted left and slowly drifted around the boats. I watched it go around the back of that boat or another boat right there, and there was a couple boats there, so probably more than one boat, and it went around the back of the boat, and then I saw it cross behind the boats, and then the big steel building that's there, and then it flew away. I was still coming into the marina, so I'm kind of turning with it. I turned to the right, and it's about 100 yards ahead of me at that other boat. but the boat's on land, and I'm watching it now go behind the building. Well, I'm still going to the right, and I'm going to turn around in the marina and kind of the only open spot they have, so I'm expecting to see it fly out from the back of this building. It never flew out. I end up docking right at the end of this T-dock at the very end where I would see it fly out. There was no place for it to go, unless, of course, it took a 90-degree turn left and went into the woods or something, but it didn't go up in the air. But I wasn't far away. It didn't make... I've used drones on boats. We used them to film boats. You know, you got that beautiful action shot of the yacht. You would probably hear something. Even with my engine going, I only had it going like the lowest possible coming into the marina. I was literally creeping. It was like, and it was just unbelievably close to me and bright. It was a bright light that looked. It literally looked like almost like a light animal or something. Like it was like not like the actual shape of an animal, but the sense that it flew or whatever it was doing like a fish swim. I don't know how to, I don't know how to explain it. We both watched it kind of going around the sky, and I when that guy was sitting next to me with the owners the next morning when they came and they said, "Hey, welcome to the marina," that guy was there. And I said, "You ever see anything weird fly around in the sky?" And the owner looked at me and said, "Yeah, people fly drones around here all the time." And that was like, so I said, "You know what? What the hell can I do?" But it was so close. It was, if it was a drone, it was I look at drones every single day. I have never seen anything like this. It had invisible wings that could light up. It was a binocular shape with no body to house a motor or motors or batteries or nothing. It was to me, it was just as defying in belief as the damn Black Triangle thing, but it was just different, and it was awesome. It was awesome because of the lights it made. It was when this thing flashed red and green, I joked around and said it almost like it was like waiting for the boat to like blink back at it, but it never did. It was like talk to me, like to the boat, but the boat just was like this inanimate object with red and green lights on the front of it, but they weren't turned on. And boats have nav lights just like an airplane, you know, the exact same reason, so you can tell if it's coming directly at you or if it's coming from, you know, left or right or whatever. And it just was still. These are the things that I hold on to. As much as people think I'm some sort of skeptic, I think, I'll assume that there's plenty of stuff I don't know about within our own defense department. But at the same time, I mean, that is asking a lot considering what I study. What I bring on the show every day. Like, it's asking a lot for me to believe that we have entirely invisible and silent drones that can seemingly, like, they're like bioluminescent or chemical luminescent or freaking got a plasma globe inside them. I don't know what. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there was nothing to create the light. I watched it. I watched nothing turn into a light, and that was brilliant. And for all the people out there that ever said they've seen things like that, that's why I don't doubt them. I just you know, whenever I end up hearing or getting the details and finding it's like, oh, it was like on the edge of the horizon or something, I'm like, oh, I wish people, you know, I wish I could, you know, really get someone who, I wish you knew when someone was telling you the truth, when they get into like the real crispy details, because I have another story I'd love to share with you, and it's when I'm younger, but it's like, you just don't find many instances where people can actually give you crisp detail, and then they don't spend their entire lives like one-upping themselves. I never find anyone like that, so I stopped just believing people. I stopped just not disbelieving, but I stopped just kind of taking everyone as a word for it.
Okay. Before we move on, how long ago was this last experience?
That was in 2021, October 2021. October, either sometime between the 17th and the 23rd, I pulled into that marina. I remember that. I can find my first day there. But, yeah, it was at the October Lake Huron, right? Yeah, I think. It was, it was fall, wet, pretty cold, pretty nice.
Wow. Okay.
Sailing in fall in the Great Lakes is gnarly. It's like the Arctic up there.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So let's talk about this other experience when you were younger.
I was. I've shared this probably the least on the show, though I've said it a lot. Because I just remember so much about times that it got me here, got me to talk about the stuff. But this was by far, because it's kind of connected to something that happened in the future, though I didn't learn about it much later. But I used to go on these investigations with people that were like, third-party members of the TAPS crew. If you remember TAPS, the ghost hunters back in the day, and they used to like speak at our events and stuff, because we had a thing called New England Paranormal a little bit later, and it was more of a coffee club, if you will, at first. We were just like investigators that would meet, and I was a child, and I would go and just learn the hard way. And I started going to this place called Paul Dever, and I ended up finding out that I had like this long family history there. I had no idea, so I was exploring this place for years, and doing all this weird stuff there, trying to encounter something strange, because so many people had claimed strange things would come, in this place, from everything from ghost lights or ghosts themselves or whatever the hell else. And I ended up finding out I had this long history that my grandmother worked there in World War II. My grandfather was stationed there in World War II, and that's how they met. They got married. She worked there for years and years and years, and I ended up finding out later on that I had all these stories from my childhood there, and that I kind of forgot, and for good reason. It was a nightmare for me. It was awful. It was dark, awful shit. You don't bring kids around criminally insane people. It was awful. It changed my life. It was not good. And it was it was just a strange recurrence. So I found myself back there at 18 years old all the time. And then it never really dawned on me that this was like the same place that all this shit went down when I was real young. And so I was exploring these places all the time with a team of people, sometimes upwards like 8 people. And one kid, Eddie, who we used to be close friends with, had his camera with him every time. Some of his videos are still on YouTube, but he stopped hanging out with us, got heavily into drugs right around the videos he was uploading, and you could see the style. I could find him. It's literally like exploring Paul Dever with his like friends, and they're like smashing windows and stuff, and it's just like, yo, ghost, come at it. It just was like, so all of our videos got deleted because of conflict, but either way. But some of them are still up there. Anyway, so Eddie is with me with a bunch of other people, and we're exploring these tunnels. And one day we find out that there's a MP base, like an MP kind of checkpoint under this area called the Columbian Cultural Center in the Industrial Park in Taunton, Massachusetts. And we noticed that it's only like 150 yards away from, or about 250 yards away, rather, from this place that we had gone to before. So one night I decided to go down by myself in these steam tunnels, which was extremely dumb of me because there was all types of criminals that used to hide out down there, and homeless people and everything. And I took a maul, a big like half axe, half sledgehammer thing down there with me, and I found a brick wall. And the brick wall just so happened to be facing that direction. And I thought, oh my God, like a bricked up wall and all these steam tunnels. The walls of the steam tunnels were like poured concrete, like you would pour basement. And this was a brick wall that really had pretty shoddy masonry, because it was like the old concrete they were mixing. It was like, like when you see it like squirt between the bricks and there's like a tongue that comes out like a foot of like concrete. So it was like I was breaking these things off and breaking the wall over. And finally, after like an hour or two, I can't remember how long it was kind of like all night, it felt like, I busted a hole in the top, and there was another wall just like less than a foot away. And I thought it was the most disheartening thing. I thought I was going to like Indiana Jones crawl through this hole and discover this old fortress. And then I find that they've actually bricked it up from the other side as well. And I was like, it was a big pain in the ass. But the next day at school, I tell everyone, where I go work out with the Army recruiters and all these guys from the National Guard and stuff, I found this place where this old MP fort was. Let's go down. And everyone's like, oh, the place that you've been trying to find, let's go. We all go down together. And it's literally a dark and stormy night. Like, it can't get any more stereotypical. We try to get into the entrance, but the security guards are, for some reason, very active that night. There's a long story to this. A security guard choked one of my friends, and he had just lost his wife apparently, and he like lost it on the job and like attacked a kid. It was nuts. But we couldn't get in the entrance, so we end up going in this back way, kind of by Sebacia Lake, and we went in there and and snuck into the back, and we had to kind of go through like about 25, 30 acres of this facility, these buildings, burnt down buildings, all the tunnels and all this stuff, patches of wood, piles of trash, water towers, all this stuff. And we finally get to the building, and the security guard is like on a roving patrol. He drives past us. His car, the exhaust blows up when it's like right next to us, and a group of the kids think that he's shooting a beanbag gun at us. So they're like, I'm out of here! Like, they run away like 50 yards and like stop for a minute and then come back and then realize that he wasn't shooting. So like this whole thing, it took a little bit. But as we're waiting, something weird did happen. And we thought it was the wind because it was a dark and stormy night. It literally was raining like crazy. And we were out there in a patch of woods just like only 100 yards away, maybe less than that, yards away from the front of this building. The building was built into the side of a hill, so the way we're looking at it from the main road, it looks deceivingly small. There's a large garage door that kind of goes down into a basement, so like all the water is actually draining into the building. And then there's a staircase that's broken with a door on the side of the building that you can't get to from the outside, but it's you can see that there would be a second floor at least. But when you go into the building through the bottom floor, you can see that second floor is really at ground level. It's very deceiving and weird. So we wait for the security guard, and I say this for a reason because we kind of get lost. I've never actually been in this building pitch black in the rain, but we're getting ready to cross the road, and we hear this loud bang, 3 loud bangs, like bang, bang, bang. We actually look at each other and say, it must be the wind. I mean, we literally say that to one another. It must be the wind. Bang, bang, bang. And we look up and we can see there's like a door not too far from the other door. And we think, oh, this must be like a delivery door. It's kind of a small door. It's like a steel door. It's something that you couldn't walk in, but it was large, pretty large. Whatever. It was just way up there. So we get in the building. Instantly we see that it's like a warehouse to our left. And I've only ever gone straight into the steam tunnels. The steam tunnels are to your right. The warehouse is to your left, where it's kind of, if you look, it's wide open around the corner. It's about 175 feet kind of to this middle part where you can clearly see it was used to roll packages, these long like wheelie ramp things, and to a garage door at the end of the building, a big garage door with 2 big windows. Okay. I look over and say, we're going to go down to the tunnels to our right. It's right here, because they had never really been in this specific way. It's very confusing and like a labyrinth in this place. And there's pictures that show on the internet that like just how weird it looked back in the day. But Eddie, I love telling the story, by the way, because it happened. Excuse my language. Eddie looked over and said, I swear to God, I'm not going down in those tunnels. Oh, I skipped the part. Crap. We looked up and we saw that there was a cutout in the ceiling. So when we walked in the building, we were looking at the warehouse, there's 2 huge flashlights, and we saw there was a cutout in the ceiling, and it had like, a railing system around the cutout, and we thought, well, like someone like watching us or something, like that was very weird. It just felt like we just noticed it too late, like we were sitting under it for like 30 seconds before someone's flashlight went up and saw that, and then suddenly we heard, I can't remember if it's before or after, but we heard running down down the warehouse, we thought there was the floor above us because we had just seen that cutout. We thought we had just scared someone, and they were running like from right above us all the way down the end of the building. And we all, it wasn't like the wind and something tumbled on the floor, and like nothing. It was like clear as day. Someone was running, and we instantly we kind of expected someone to be up there in that moment because we saw that catwalk and we heard the running, and we're like, I don't know if I'm saying this backwards, but it was just kind of seemed like someone was up there and saw us. And so we assumed that there was this huge room upstairs. Eddie says out loud, yo, I'm not going down there into the tunnels until I know there's no one up there who's going to trap us down there, So we turn around and we walk right up the stairs that clearly lead to that cutout, And we get up there. It's a tiny little room. All that's there is like one of those elevator things for like food or whatever. Remember, the ones you like use your hand to like go down and up with it. And there's a door that leads to the outside. That big door we could see, that rectangular door that wasn't big enough for a human, but was used for something clearly. It facing the way we came in, and it's right there. But as we all get into the upstairs, a dove, like a single dove, by the way, I don't know why I tell this part, but it happened, starts flapping around everywhere, and it scares the shit out of all of us. Like, there's a bird, like, feet from our heads, and everyone's like, ah! Like, and in the commotion, I don't think we quite realized what had just taken place. First off, we heard someone on the third floor or the second floor running like Michael Johnston. We heard them. We clear as day heard them. But we're up on the second floor now, or whatever, we're second or third floor now, whatever it really was, and there was nowhere to run. There was no one up there. There was no one that ran. There was no second floor to the warehouse in a sense. It was literally like a 10 by 10 room. And so whatever that was, in my mind, went out that window, that big weird shaped door that was used for deliveries at one point, and jumped on the roof and ran fast as hell. That's all I can explain it. But what took place next is where it gets, excuse my language, effed up. I'm sorry not to swear. It got real bad. It got real bad. Like, in the sense that I still think today about it basically before I go to bed every night. Anytime I think of a warehouse, anytime I see a garage door with a big rectangular shape, two rectangular shaped windows in it, anytime I hear a loud bang, not like literally like a bang, like, you know, like if someone bangs on a table, but when I hear a noise that resembles like what I heard that night, kind of like an echoing, like a pounding on something, it's just an awesome memory. But it's, we get down the stairs, we walk halfway between those stairs and the stairs that lead into the steam tunnels, and we hear that bang again, loud as hell, so loud that we all jump. You know, we're all like, whoa, like, and we turn the flashlight towards the far end of the building. Both me and Chris put our flashlights directly on that door at the same time, like one from the left, one from the right, and these are million candle flashlights. We bought them specifically to go down there. And as soon as we got on the door, we could see this person standing there. We could, clear as day, there's a person standing there. It was just far enough away, and the lights were just bright enough, though, that it kind of obscured the view. But when we moved the lights kind of slightly downward, so only like the outside of the cone of light was touching it, it was a person with a, I hate saying this part, but it's a person that literally was like hunched downward so they could see through the window rather. And they just started smashing on the door while their head was saying, like, or their head was moving in weird ways. It was like the head was shaking no, but if someone could shake no so fast, their head was blurry. And their arms were like white as possible. And I always said, was it from the light that the arms were like that? I don't know, but they seemed, we all agreed that whoever's arms they were white as possible, and the head literally looked like it was, the head looked like it was I hate saying this out loud, but I've been joking, it's a horse-headed mutant freak. Literally, the dude's head was stretched. Like, it wasn't like a gray alien or someone, someone said, does it look like this? I don't think it looked like that at all. It literally looked like someone had a horse's head and it was hunched downward looking in a window with its eyes looking like, or whatever the black spots for eyes really, looking upward through the window, and it just started smashing on the door. Not like in our minds or our imaginations. There was a person, that's all we assumed, was smashing on the window. That's all we knew. We looked at it for a good seconds, certainly not minutes, certainly not even close to a minute, probably 15 to 20 seconds of going, what the F, what? Like, we're all kind of mouthing this. And then suddenly, I did look over at Chris, and I could see him literally like with like a kid that would have a ton of bravado, be like, I'll beat anyone's ass, like some 18-year-old kid who then was looking at something with his mouth like agape, and he was just like wording like, what the F? And suddenly Kaylee screamed so loud. And I'm sure I'm rushing through the story, and because I talk a lot and I apologize, but like Kaylee screamed so loud, it scared us worse than the dude or the thing. Kaylee screamed so loud that it hurt my ears. It like she screamed she said that she saw it. She screamed because she saw it. So we were all going, what the hell is that? And the banging, she didn't even know what we were looking at. And she, like, saw it and just instantly screamed. It was so loud. We all hit the floor, got soaking wet, rolled under the door, because it was, the door was, like, wedged 3/4 of the way down. So you had to literally get down to get under the door. So as soon as she did that, we all freaked out, rolled under the door, and left. But we all met down the road. Because we all had cars in different places. We all met down the road. We tried our best. As someone who was already into the paranormal at that point, I tried to, like, literally tell people, please shut up. Just draw what you saw, what you witnessed. Just draw it as best you can. Draw it a bunch of times. Draw it really small, and then draw it really big, whatever you think you saw. And everyone had the same thing, except they all pretty much just said we saw a ghost. But it was the next day that it got really mysterious, because we went back with an army of people. I say that because I'm not joking. We literally, all day long at lunch, everyone was like, no, you guys don't understand. Ghosts are real. This isn't like we were going there mostly because we knew that ghosts weren't real, but ghosts, that's what they were telling people at lunch. So what do you think happens if you tell a bunch of kids that are like ghetto kids from southeastern Massachusetts that there's a ghost and they can go see it, or maybe even a homeless guy living? I apologize. To be fair, a bunch of people, including myself, considered that at that point, because we didn't know what we were about to see the next day, that we still thought maybe there was a dude in there and we were going to go confront him for scaring us. We had people bringing bats, guns, knives. I'm not even joking. We had an army of people come with us the next day with weapons. We went right to that door, and that door had been closed and sealed for an unknown amount of time, decades at that point. That door was over 30 feet off the ground and used to be a loading dock. There was no loading dock that led to that door anymore. There was no land under that door anymore. That door, that whole loading dock in the wall, if you look from the outside of the building, because that's what we were like, no way, this is impossible. This is impossible. There was a guy in there. We expected to see out the back door. We were going to open that door and go walk down a loading dock or something. Instead, we found a piece of metal that was bolted to that outside of the door for an unknown amount of time. There was a door to the left of that garage door with an exit sign on it that was sealed, that led to no walkway. But on the inside, there used to be one that would lead upstairs in some sort of system. I don't know how they did it, but that garage door with the two windows in it had about 1 inch of space between the metal plate that blocked the hole on the outside of the building, the holes in the bricks, and in the actual garage door that was sealed shut. So I'm sure if we had like a machine or tools, we could have really busted that door open. But literally, you could, like, if you put your eyes to the glass, there was only maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches, because that door used to kind of be on the outside of the building. And before they put that metal plate on, like a big, huge, delivery door sized piece of metal with like the kind of like the graded lines, that like design that you see in the bed of trucks sometimes. It was like that piece of metal. It's completely rusted over. All of the bolts that we could see looked like they had been there for decades. They were completely rusted, completely like sealed up. There was no getting in and off. No one put that on in the middle of the night. So basically we heard someone run Olympic speed across a roof and then go through a wall and bang on the wall and door in front of us. And we watched the guy do it, or thing do it. And then the next day we showed up with an army and had a literally like 20 or 18 people say to us, "You're all full of shit." Like there's no way that happened. But all of us stood there being like, did we see? If you ask them today, which some of them will still are out there, some of them suffer the southeastern New England drug problems. A couple of them I talk to still, but they'll tell you we saw a ghost. So what? What the fuck is a ghost? What is any of these, like, how could anyone just, it changed me forever. I left right after that to the Army. I never forgot that. I told you I kind of, like, drifted away from the topic as an investigator, but it was like, that happened right before I left for the Army. And I never stopped thinking about that. I never stopped thinking about the day that we went to prove, or to find a bunker and prove that ghosts aren't real constantly by going down there and hopefully, we kind of all hoped we'd see something one day, but it was all in our minds at that point. We never saw anything for real, like physical, and it was an impossible thing that happened. I sit here today as a skeptic on all things. I live in disbelief of my own experiences. I cannot explain what happened, yet it did. It went through the wall in front of us. It banged on the door. It somehow went through a metal plate and then had the ability to smash, not literally smash and break, but use its forearms, what looked like forearms, to bash a door so loud and at night that it scared the hell out of, we would have never ran if we saw a person. That's like, we were kind of hoping to capture a homeless person on camera down there because so many people had gone down there and been attacked at one point. Literally, one kid got a cue ball thrown at him by a guy. A guy came out of a room in the middle of a steam tunnel in the middle of the night and threw a cue ball at him, acting like a psychopath, and he ran, and it became a story like, we're going to go find old cue ball, joking around all the time because this one homeless guy that was spotted down there. And that horse-headed mutant freak will remain probably just as mysterious in its own way, other than in unique in its own way. It has nothing to do with UFOs, as far as I can tell. It has nothing to do with anything really on the aviation side of what we talk about. But good golly, do I think back and look at that thing's face in my mind so often, where it literally looked like a guy with a stretched head. And the eyes were more like spaces where there wasn't eyes. I don't know how to. It's so stupid. I know. But that was 2004. That was the spring of 2004, and that building's no longer there. Though there's plenty of evidence and pictures and videos of that whole location on the internet still. It's just unfortunate that we just didn't put too much weight in the idea. I've never put weight into the idea of being like the TAPS crew. They would show up and set up an entire thing, have a generator outside running, or plug it into their car, extension cords, tables upon tables of equipment, and I just wanted to walk. I just wanted to experience. I wanted to go out there and try to, get it going. And but yeah, anyways, I think back to that to think that, as much as I'm a skeptic, man, that killed me. That kicked my ass. I still think of it today. I'm like, how,
Yeah, that's a weird one. So the way that the head was moving, can you talk a little bit more about that?
In the very short time we saw it, there was a lateral movement, I guess. It was.
So from side to side.
Yeah, it was moving from side to side, but it just seemed like it was moving from side to side. You want to hear something ridiculous? I was watching the movie Moana with my ex-wife's kid, and there was a scene where there's she falls into some kind of nightmare world. I don't know. She goes down to talk to that giant crab guy.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, yeah. There's a little guy in the thing that kind of vibrates his way towards her, and I kind of looked at that and thought that's kind of the way it moved. Its head simply didn't sit still. Its arms banged on the wall, and we saw that part, and we heard it. It was so loud, but its head kind of moved side to side pretty rapidly. It didn't really seem like it was sitting still, and it was not to the point where it was a blur, it was some sort of special effect, but it was definitely. It was. Oh my God, I'm thinking about it right now. It was definitely there's a second part to the story that is complete confirmation bias. It's complete self-confirmation of what took place in some sort of way that would explain it. And I don't know if it's just my mind that did that over the years, but I did this DMT trial years later, and I spoke to this thing that claimed to be the thing behind the window, and then later on, I literally said to myself, I was crying even. I was like, I can't believe it. After all these years, I talked to that thing again. I never even expected that's what was going to take place. But it was, it told me it did it for a reason. It said, if I hadn't scared you, you would have, or he would have got you. And in the DMT trip, I literally was transported behind someone's TV. And I got to sit for a good, I don't know, what seemed like a minute as I looked at someone watch TV. It was an older guy. He looked all scuffed up. His face looked all wrong. He literally looked like a person I knew. I couldn't tell who it was. I spent a couple months after that event just looking through people that were arrested back in 95, 96, 97 to all the way to 2000, trying to just see if there was a face I recognized. I've done it hundreds of times, looked at criminal photos because they pop up in my tags to just to see if I see this guy's face, because that's how descriptive it was. And I literally can think of it right now. And so it reminded me of something saying no, but I don't know if that's something that I'm just confirming to myself. I don't know. But it literally reminded me of something saying no in the most violent no you've ever seen in your life.
Okay. So it wasn't the motion wasn't unnatural in any way. It was just, it felt meaningful. Or was it unnatural?
I know that a human couldn't move that fast. I know that I've never seen a person move their head no that quick. If it was saying no, that's for sure. But I never thought it was saying no until that DMT trip. For sure. I never once ever had the slightest opinion that it did something beneficial for me. For my entire life, I've told people the story how it went. We saw this weird mutant freak and it scared the fuck out of us and we ran. And
have you ever seen? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
Have you ever seen the movie Jacob's Ladder?
As in the kind of documentary, but the biopic kind of about
it's a fiction. I think it's a fictional movie. Actually.
Yeah, I know the name.
It's a horror movie. But there's a scene in the movie where the guy, there's a face that moves around really fast, and I don't remember where I read about this, but I think people will, in dreams or maybe sometimes on trips and stuff like that, they'll report that same kind of thing. And so I think, I'm not sure if they did this with Jacob's Ladder, but I know that in some TV shows and movies, they will deliberately use this kind of effect of the face moving around really, really rapidly, uncannily rapidly. And it really reminds me of that detail in your story.
I have the trailer up right now. I'm gonna have to watch. I don't recall this movie. It looks almost looks like a scaled down Hellraiser a little bit in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty scary. It's about a Vietnam vet basically, and he's he's kind of in hell basically. It's sort of surrealist and it's very dark.
Yeah, it looks crazy dark. Looks like he's trapped in his own mind type of thing. But maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch because.
I mean, it's pretty hard to spoil it, but I think it's kind of, well, it's not really open-ended. You do kind of find out what happens at the end, but I do think ontologically, it's you don't really ever quite figure out what's going on with reality in this movie,
Well, that's perfect then, because, well, first off, I've never been a fan of horror pictures, but I'll tell you, with just a few of my weirder experiences as a child, I did feel whatever they tried, I don't know what came first, the subconscious message in my head, or the film there, or I'm sorry, or the actual event that I'm describing, but But I do feel like after seeing that scene in Moana, I literally was like, wow, there are things out there that people have captured. I wonder if I should like put something together based off that, because I've never really gotten to horror movies, but I watched a couple horror movies with friends on a weekend one time, and I was like, damn, like the horror franchise or genre is way closer to, I think, what people describe than say like some fantasy about what is that movie with where like they keep jumping worlds and I don't even know, but with Leonardo DiCaprio there. Like I just feel like it's far more Inception. I think it's far more like a horror film than it is like some sort of like thing we can necessarily control. Like maybe, you know, I've talked to Preston Dennett 100 times about it. He believes he truly can just blip into worlds. He can jump worlds and stuff. And I always felt like this seemed to me like you could experience what people describe as sleep paralysis while waking in a group of people. You can experience the same thing. So are they the exact same thing, or is sleep paralysis this nailed down, you know, medical observed phenomena that is understood? I kind of get worried sometimes when we jump to things because literally people describe. I don't want to say that, but my experience was very similar to what people have described to me in detail over sleep paralysis. But I wasn't asleep. I was awake with friends. We were very alert. We were over alert. We were probably so alert. That's one of the reasons why we jumped to be scared so fast, because Kaylee screamed. And if we had just stayed, maybe we would have known what it was, you know, like maybe we would have ended up experiencing something further. I don't know, but it after looking at a couple after looking at a couple of these things, I just feel like there's people that maybe, this is a little bit off topic here, but there's people that have maybe had experiences that work in Hollywood. If you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Because some of them are like, wow. And I don't know, but I'm all over the place here, sorry.
No, you're good. I want to go back to that second story that you told for just a moment. How long would you say that experience lasted with the when you were on the marina at Taos, or however you pronounce it?
Taos.
Taos.
Marina,
okay.
About 500 yards at 3 knots. So,
okay.
I don't know. We'll have to figure out what that is. It took at least, I don't know. I can literally calculate it because I know that I was going to the marina the slowest my boat can handle, and I can just literally look on the map and see how far it took to get there, and then figure that out. But it was, you know, under 3 minutes, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the, I always felt like time was a limited factor in these scenarios, especially if any of them are as legitimate as we think they are. And but I feel like I'm just lucky enough, I guess, to have had my eyes. I mean, a lot, a 3 minute gunfight is essentially a lifetime. And so, 3 minutes of looking at something that you still can't explain after 3 minutes, you know what happens, I'm sure. Like, do you think they're headlights? They're not headlights. What the hell is it then? Oh, you think they're running lights, but they're not running lights because it's blinking at a boat. What was it? Where's the body? What's holding the power source? What's keeping this thing in the air? How does it vanish before it changes into red and green? Like, these are all things that I'm over the course of under 3 minutes, I'm just like, no. It was near a Coast Guard base. In fact, it was right next to a Coast Guard base. It has a giant camera on a telephone pole, and I've left multiple messages with that base. No, I never got a call back. But I wonder. I mean, maybe no one saw it, but enough people have captured things on the Great Lakes that they look like plasmas or something. They look like some sort of thing, but
like more blobby.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of what it looked like at first. It kind of looked like maybe if you were to look at this light from the front, it would probably be a globular shape. That's what it kind of looked like. But like while it was coming down from the sky, and then I started seeing it from the rear, I could see that it was almost like two egg. I don't know, two egg shapes touching at one end or something. I don't know how to. But yeah, it was It was just, it was light. I never saw anything physical. I saw 3 different color lights, and it was awesome.
Do you have any other unexplained experiences you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, because I don't get to get weird enough. But but like there's a couple that well, I don't put much faith into the DMT thing, but I will say my very first DMT trip was it was so bullshit that I jumped up off of the bed I was laying on in front of this doctor and immediately pointed at him and said, "How the F did you do that?" Because I thought I literally have never done a hard drug in my life, and I thought Have you ever tried dimethyltryptamine?
I have not. No, I haven't.
Yeah, I never. Okay, first off, I just assumed that it was going to be like I don't know. I didn't know what I was expecting, but I watched 2 weeks of prep to like give myself these mantras they told me to come up with. They were like, come up with a mantra about what you're trying to achieve with this type of thing. And I never really put too much weight into that, but I tried my best. I literally was like, I want to sleep better. I want to be happy. I want to, whatever it is. Whatever is sad, that's what I was saying. I'm laying there, doing this thing, and I start to panic. I've only done dimethyltryptamine for I can't remember the number exactly. I got to look back at it, but I've never done it again, and I probably never will. But I did it with a doctor, and it was, let's just call him a medical professional with his PhD, because I don't know what type of doctor, but anyways, I freaked out, okay, and I'm panicking saying this mantra over and over again. I'm literally saying it out loud in front of the doctor, because at this point the room turns into dust, and it's everything turns into symbols, letters, and all types of nothing. Like literally the whole world turns into dust, and I'm saying this mantra out loud, and suddenly I see, I'm gonna skip right to the part where it matters, but I see all this weird shit happening. This huge cloud of forms in front of me. I see myself in third person suddenly. I'm like looking at myself in third person, and these little orb things are coming near me in 2s and 3s, and groups of 2s and 3s. These orbs are flying at me from the base of this like huge storm cloud off in the distance. And as the orbs are getting close, the damn things have faces in them. Literally, I only can remember one set of faces, and they reminded me of like critter people. Like they were like beaver people or something. I don't know what they were, but they were woodchuck people. I don't know, but they came up to me and I scared them. They floated towards me kind of with like interested faces, almost like hello stranger like faces. And I was going, I want to sleep better. I want to fight less. I want to be happy. I want to not think about war. Like I'm literally saying my mantra. Like I'm panicking. I'm saying it, and they react to me. They get close to me, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And they literally react as if I scared them, and they back up while looking at me like a couple would. Like I can only see that like a couple's like a head, and there's like 2 people standing there, but I can only see their heads in these bubbles, and they like kind of back up quickly, like they're like what the hell, and they turn around and leave. So I shut up. I just get quiet. I'm like, oh. I'm like, I think they heard me. I was like, what the fuck? I'm in this world. What is this? And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the base of this cloud and I'm seeing these bubbles just whiz out from the side, and some are going around and going back into the thing. Like the ones that looked at me are actually going back into the cloud, the base of the cloud, and then on another side they're doing like these kind of big zigzags, like how a planet and its motion around the sun. At some point, obviously, it starts to whiz around one of its its ellipse. Am I saying that right? No. It's what am I trying to think? What's the word I'm thinking here? What is the motion a planet takes around the sun?
Orbit?
Yeah, but it's what's that point where it gets to like it's a peak in the orbit where it like flings back to the direction of
yeah, that's called the I think that's called the perihelion or something. I'm not sure.
Well, it looked
anyway,
like in my mind.
Or the vertex or something. Or
it looked like that's what was happening. It looked like they were like kind of like reaching a point and then like whizzing back the other way. And as this was all happening, I noticed something move way up in the clouds, and I look up, and there is this massive head. Everything else is tiny, but there is this one huge head in the clouds. And it is indistinguishable to me that part of this head that I can see is a horse. Like, I grew up with horses. Maybe that's why I'm seeing it, obviously. Like, I've looked at horses a trillion times. Probably not a trillion, but I literally grew up raising horses, and I still take care of them today. That I see what looks like a horse's face. So I'm you know, and just the eyes mostly, and these huge black eyes are sticking on the side, but it doesn't quite look like that. The skin is kind of horse elephant like. That's all I can describe it. And I'm like, whoa, why are you the only thing that is hiding itself? Is what I said. And like echoed is the only way I can describe this is how I assume this would happen to someone, is I heard my own voice speaking back to me, and it made me jump, like in the trip. It was like, holy, like I heard myself talking to myself, and it said, I said, and that, take that for what you will. I said, you know, why are you the only thing that's not showing your face? And it said, because the last time I showed myself to you, I scared you, or something along those lines. In the moment I heard myself say that, I went like a flip book of all these weird experiences in my life, and it landed right on me being right back in Paul Dever with all my friends. I was there. It was indistinguishable from the same night. It was like a living memory, a movie that I was in that was as real as it could be. And there I am looking at this thing in the window. And it said if I didn't scare you, you know, he would have got you. I think that's what it said. If I didn't scare you, he would have got you. And again, that's in my own voice. And it flips to behind the TV, and I'm looking at some person sitting on a couch. The person has like a crooked nose, and I just remember I just was like sitting there in awe, and just came out crying. I don't remember exact the order of things. My memory's that bad, but I do remember that the when this all happened. I can't remember now. I can't remember now if this is my second trip. No, my first trip is the one where I talked to the giant head in the cloud, and it said the last time I showed myself to you, it scared you, and it showed me all these experiences, including me sending me back right there, and I saw the thing in the window, and that's where it ended. I apologize. I messed my story up because that's the second trip. The second trip is, and that's where it ends. Where literally it's like a flip book. It shows me the black triangle. It shows me a weird snake that I saw. You know, all this crazy stuff. But most importantly, it shows me right back in my own body in high school, ready to leave for the army, in this place, looking at this horrible thing. And I remember I snapped out of it, and I looked at the doctor, and I was like, how the F did you do that? You know, I couldn't believe it. I just kept pressing him, like, how did you do that? Was that like the TV? I didn't understand if the drug was mixed with this giant TV he had on the wall. And I was so baffled at what happened, but either way, I was like, wow, that was some self-confirming bullshit. It was amazing, but did I just make all that up? Like, you know, it was insane. And, but it made me believe that a lot of the stuff I had witnessed had something to do with one another, in the sense that they were simply weird as hell. That's it. That's the closest I can get. They not really easy to explain, or you can't really explain them. And as of yet, obviously I believe we could in the future, or we will one day. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to, whatever I'm trying to say here. It's just, I don't think that they're independent of each other, in the sense that at the very minimum, they were strange. They happened to me, and I'm talking about it like all these years later, and it was radical. And You know, just showed it reminded me as well of all these other things that I'd kind of forgotten about. You know, and like reminded me of this other thing I experienced with my brother and this time with and can we not put her last name in there? Whatever. Sorry. Yeah. I apologize.
That's fine.
But Liz was my babysitter. I said her name on my show before, and then I realized afterwards, like, oh my God, what an idiot! You know, like, I don't want to, have someone go harass this person I haven't even talked to in years. But it's
yeah.
I apologize. You don't have to cut it out. What a pain in the ass. You'd have to go and find it.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to do a ton of stuff on this, so don't worry about it.
We can cancel the whole thing, and then I'll say it all again.
I'm just gonna cut out the whole interview. Just put it in the.
This is what I do. I apologize. I have a broken brain, and I just stop on and on.
No, you're good. So, what is this experience with your babysitter? Can you tell me about that?
It was literally I walked through my backyard out of the woods. Just spent the day playing in the woods. I was a young kid, probably 6 or 7, walking past the horse pasture entrance on the right there, and suddenly I hear a noise. I look over. There's what looks like a snake, a large snake, like too large to be a normal snake for this area. And I walk up to it fairly close. I'm a zoo book kid. I love all that stuff, and I'm walking up to it, and I see that the snake is like destroyed. It's like split. It's cut. It's ripped apart. It has tendons that are missing. It looks in some parts to be like literally a fillet. And some of it's not connected at all. Yet they're all rotating together. And the snake is alive. Its head is separated from its body in most places, and it's like in its death throes, like making crazy noises, hissing, and literally like it's making loud noises, and I'm watching it look like it's rotating. Like the best I can describe it is it's 1 inch off the ground, seemingly floating, not like even where it's like super symmetrical or something, where but like it's like not rolling over in pain. It seemingly is independent of one another, rotating. That's the best I can describe it, but it was just real jacked up. And I kind of yelled, and someone grabbed my shoulder and pulled me back, and it was Liz, and she was like, "What the hell? Get away from that!" Like she saw it too, and she freaked out because it was huge, and it was for the size of what it was. For me to walk up to it, I was asking for trouble, because if anything, if it was as legitimate, if it was a normal thing and prosaic, or some explainable thing, it was someone's house pet or someone's pet they released, and it was a giant non-indigenous snake was going around essentially. But the crazy part about it was within seconds of her pulling me away from it, not like 30 seconds goes by, she's yelling, "What did you do?" Thinking that I just took a shovel or brought the horse over and stomped it out. But I obviously didn't do that. I loved animals, and I would never kill anything in my life. And I kind of still, obviously that changed the military, but I kind of still live that way today, where I literally save bugs. I'm like one of those weirdos that will save a freaking bug and walk it to the other end of the house and let it out. And because I'm not like that. I don't want any part of that anymore. That was a different life. And, but this was seconds. She yelled, "What did you do? What did you do?" And we both turned back to look at it like, "You think I did this?" Like I was like a kid, wise-ass little kid. "You think I did this to this giant snake?" And it was gone. There was no snake. There was nothing. There was no noise. There was no trail. This thing wasn't slithering away. Let's put it this way. And if it slithered away, about its head and a few pieces still attached would have made it. There was nothing getting away here. This was not but we still looked. We looked under the barn. We looked under the car that was nearby. And there was no other place. We obviously were kind of looking up at the trees and stuff, but there was nowhere to get away. This thing was I have other, as when I got close and I looked down to the snake, one of the things I want to stress here is that, this is something I didn't even remember until a year ago when I was, talking to, my mother about it and other people about it. And someone brought up that I had said that, but one of the first things I didn't remember until someone reminded me that I don't know if I truly remember or it's just part of the story now, but I do recall part of my life where I had this kind of like ocular or like vision. I don't know what, I don't know. I still to this day don't know what it is, but it felt to me in this moment it was happening. The only way I can describe it is that when I was a child, I would lay on a bed and I'd be watching TV at night, and for no reason the TV would get extremely small and feel like it would like zip away from me.
Oh.
And it felt like in that moment it happened.
Talking about. Yeah.
I literally rubbed my eyes. Like I thought I was like, I was like, oh, like I panicked thinking that something was happening to my vision, because when I looked directly at the snake from just a few feet away, like it's that same feeling happened to me. Take that for what you will.
There's something called Lilliputian hallucinations, and I think that, I don't know what the inverse.
I know that. I've heard of them. Yeah, chronic Lilliputian hallucinations, and then a bunch of other things. And
yeah, but I think there's also like Brobdingnagian ones too. I don't know if that's what they're called, but yeah, like basically like things are really, really big too. So maybe that's why the snake was so big.
I swear it's connected to what happened to that. I swear. As a child, one of my first reactions apparently was to freak out. Like I was looking at something so close that made my eyes or forehead feel weird. That's all I can. And that was that's why a lot of times I hear people talk about being abductions and stuff, and I was like, I don't have any abduction stories whatsoever. Like I have nothing. My mother jokes around about it with me about that. That's not what happened with the triangle. Like when I always say, like, well, that's why I'm a weirdo. I'm a hybrid. I'm joking around with her, but I never have anything like that. Rather, I've never claimed that. But I hear so many people talk about this zipping, like this zipping away feeling, like they've been like suddenly sucked out through their ceiling or something like that. And it's also accompanied by people that just talk about sleep paralysis, but for me, I never had either of those things, or maybe that's what it was, and I just didn't know, but that's literally what would take place. I'd be looking at the TV, and it would zip away from me, and I'd be like, I'd have to like suddenly like shake my head really hard, and like, I can't even watch the movie Celtic Pride ever again because it happened during the fake nightmare commercial they filmed in the movie where the guy's like dunking a ball in a toilet. It happened right at that scene. So every time I see that movie come on, I go, oh God, no. And I think it's going to happen again. I'm like, I don't want to look, because it like, I just remember this awful feeling of it, but that's that same feeling I got when I looked at that snake. And when people, I don't know why Liz saw it, but when people talk about that, I've never heard of anyone, hey, chill out. Sorry, I got to talk to you. I never heard of, anyone, saying that they've had shared Lilliputian disorder or something happened simultaneously with someone else. It's usually like with an elderly person, oftentimes blind, oftentimes have never had a vision until they're blind, or I've read some of the medical literature, not a lot of it, but some of the other kind of rare and rather interesting branches of that. Where people talk about, symmetrical shapes, almost like what is it called? Hypnagogic? What is it? I'm forgetting right now.
Hypnagogic hallucinations. Yeah.
Yes, similar to that, but almost as if they're interacting with this world. Like they'll describe like a wagon wheel rolling down their stairs, and strange stuff like that. And to me, if there's ever acknowledgement from the scientific community that that can be a shared phenomenon, that I'd be very happy to know, because that means that might explain a few things a lot of us humans may have experienced.
Yeah. A lot of that's really interesting to me. These like shared experiences are really intriguing.
There's so many times that people have said, well, this doesn't happen in the day. This doesn't happen with other people. This only happens when your eyes are closed, when you're meditating in an altered state. I'm one of those folks that would tend to disagree. But then if we're going to suggest it's some sort of neurological phenomena, and it's like something that we can actually like find in the medical literature that can do this, I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't know, but some of it is asking, I kind of believe, too much of science. Like, we're supposed to we're supposed to assume that there's no aliens to start this hypothesis off, right? Like, we're going to assume there's no outside agent, that's manipulating us in any way. It's maybe an experiment. We have to assume that, right? Like, this is just happening to us, and not with an outside entity interacting with us in any way. Like, you start to like really ask a lot of neurology and psychology to come up with some pretty radical explanations for things that enough people have claimed. And I'm not saying they're all the same thing, but I believe that I'm one of them, and I hope Lilliputian disorder would explain it, but good golly.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that.
Yeah,
no, it's clearly that experience is obviously much more complicated than that.
But it could be related for sure. We don't know, right? We don't know.
Yeah. So
this is a nightmare. You're gonna have to edit so much. Just let it roll from start to finish. Give people something to do.
It's all good. So, did you grow up religious? And did you grow up going to church or anything like that?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Catholic church, every Sunday, catechism, CCD, I would, had a mother who did it out of like ritual or habit because of her family, but ultimately I ended up finding out later on because my mother like stopped going to church. We were religious, but my mother clearly was into some pretty interesting metaphysical stuff, which would explain her behavior, sometimes growing up. But I had no idea. I didn't even know that side of her until much later. But yeah, we were like religious with like a flare of, a butterfly flies past, and your mother's like, "That's your great aunt right there coming to visit you," and I'm like, "What?" And ridiculous stuff like that, and the religion thing was a lot, man. I ended up becoming like like a kid that like looked at the world like a hippie because of it. I was like, this is a nightmare. I was like, they're being dragged in here, and this like institution is like constantly bearing down on me. These like old school. Even as a child, I never got it, and I ended up looking at it like. Kind of, I think that maybe gave me the ability to look at the world like, what is any different than this than something, I saw a meme just the other day that I wish I had seen when I was a kid because it would have helped me make up my mind quite a lot. And that was, we helped you stop worshiping the sun, savages, and it just says underneath it, the sun is real. And like I just like never thought of it like that as a kid growing up because I always would be that why would that make sense? Why would anyone do that? Why would anyone that's just things were different then and God works in mysterious ways. So I kind of had a very strange. I went from super religious to like hating it at a young age.
Growing up in Catholicism or being in Catholicism when you were young. Would you say that like that influenced your understanding of things like the paranormal, like hauntings and?
One second, I'm sorry. One second. One second. Yo, oh my God! I don't know how. I'm sorry to interrupt you during your question there, but the dogs kept running in. Thank God for the dogs. Oh my God, I love you guys. Come here. Holy shit. Thank you so much. I'm going to get you guys the biggest bag of treats ever. Somehow, I dropped I walked earlier on the show, live streaming, like 7 miles. I came in the house, took my shirt off, and threw it, and somehow didn't recognize that I turned the stove on. And I just was sitting here talking, and the dogs have been running in here up to me, acting very strange. Like this new dog I have never acts this way. Like he's very lovey-dovey right now. And sure enough, I go out in the kitchen and see that literally there's a stove pan glowing partially. Oh my God, that was fun. Thank you so much, guys. Oh my God. That was so crazy. All right, sorry about that. Now that I'm not going to die, the dogs just saved my life. I owe you guys $1 million. Get your head out of her butt. Get out of there. No. Sorry, he's in heat and he's curious. Anyways, sorry about that. That was crazy. Holy shit. Okay. Anyways, sorry. That was like I've never. Oh my god, I've never done that before. Yeah, I'm sorry for being the way I am.
Oh, no need to apologize at all. It's just, I think I've hit my wall, where I'm kind of like, I can't actually phrase questions, but also like it kind of helps to have a little bit of time to reflect on what you said. And then that way I can come up with smarter questions for you.
I'd love to anytime, seriously. And anytime you want to, come on to talk about what you're working on, your project, your YouTube channel, I'd be happy to have you on, okay? And
that'd be great.
I don't have a big audience, but there's a couple hundred people on YouTube and I don't know, 1,000 people on the audio side. Not a lot, but so I'd be happy to promote your stuff as long as you stay true to not bullshitting for any reason. That's kind of, I don't know how. Awesome. I literally think about it every day. I'm like, I'd love to promote people and give people like anything I could do to like pay back. But I was like, there's been a couple times where I've regretted that. And I'm just like, oh my god. But I gotta open back up to people,
Yeah. I think, that's really cool of you.
The interlude music is Flying Fan by CO. This track is Lotus Water You May Need to Remix by Alexandra Zero. In part 2, Rachel asks follow-up questions about Jeff's experiences, as well as about the Bridgewater Triangle. Thank you so much for listening to UFO Sunset. Stay tuned for more.
Thank you. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye, Jeff. Have a good one.
Bye. You too.